South Africa, I thought we had an understanding here. You were only going to get 5 points for your tries, and you were going to let everybody else get 7. What's going on? What's with this? What's with this kicking malarkey? What parallel universe have I just woken up in where South Africa can kick and they get 7 points for their tries? It's not fair. Lots to talk about on this video. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tim. This is Egg Chasers. And yeah, let's get into this game. South Africa with a handsome win against Tonga, but the scoreline maybe doesn't reflect the effort and the intensity that Tonga brought to that one. And I think do you know what? I'm coming away from that game feeling really good about, about rugby in general, but about that match and about the weekend as well. And it started in quite a, well, not a great place, because I was there in the stadium in Lyon when Italy just were abject, didn't turn up, and it was, 96-17. And as much as I marvelled at New Zealand being fantastic, I thought that's really not good for rugby, the Rugby World Cup. But here, the weekend's finishing with a great spirited showing from Portugal earlier, and now Tonga really giving a good account of themselves, putting some fire, some passion and some pride into that shirt, which has been missing in recent rounds, but there it was. And yet, South Africa still managed to handily put them away. Get some points on the board, and now they can sit and put their feet up and wait to find out who their quarter-final opponent is. And I think with a scoreline like that, they've pretty much ruled out any possibility of not being in the quarterfinals. So job done from a South African point of view. And yeah, just lots that I'm really happy about and really positive about. And I guess all the talk beforehand was about the kicking performance of Manie Libbok in Paris. 11 points left out there. Game lost against Ireland. Handré Pollard coming in as Malcolm Marx' replacement. Getting the start now tonight and going 5 from 5 from the tee and looking good. Getting 50 minutes under his belt. Big decisions now for Jacques Nienaber and Rassie Erasmus to make, because, hey, Manie Libbok came off the bench and he must have known. You can imagine what was in Manie Libbok's mind. As much as, as goal kickers, they sort of empty their mind, and they're very good at that. There must have been a moment where he thought, oh, Handré's just gone 5 from 5. I've got to get this. Everybody's going to be watching this kick. And he nailed it. So maybe just the presence of Handré Pollard, the threat of him wearing that 10 jersey for South Africa, has been enough to bring out the best in Manie Libbok. And South Africa have just gone from having no kickers to having 2 very good kickers. That's going to be a really interesting one to watch, isn't it? The selection as we look to a quarter-final. And I guess that's the first thing in the comments. Who wears 10? Who wears 10 in the quarterfinals? If you were picking right now, who would it be? I suspect it'll still be Libbok. But then they've got 2 weeks that they can see them both in training. So it's going to be that's going to be a fascinating one to watch. But not the only positive out of tonight from the South African perspective, because they also, one of the consequences, and I love this story as well, one of the consequences of going for Handré Pollard as the replacement for Malcolm Marx is also that, well, you were like, hooker? Fourie and Van Staden? Really? I love it. That's one of the consequences. Dean Fourie started a Rugby World Cup match with the number 2 on his back, and he had a massive grin on his face, especially when he scored that try. And I love this. It was the same with Scout Brits 4 years ago, wasn't it? A guy that was in the twilight of his career. I mean, deserved to be there, but was at the end of his career. And players, when they get to that stage in their career, they know the days are numbered. They know this might be it. And so you can see that they're soaking it all in. Then, like when you're young, you just kind of, you hear players talk about this a lot. When players win trophies and stuff when they're very young, when they're older, they say, oh, I wish I'd just enjoyed the moment a bit more. You could just see Deon Fourie was just loving life and soaking that moment up. And you just love to see it. And I'm jumping around a little bit here, but I just feel like talking about positives. So let me talk about Ben Tamafuna. I mean, firstly, no one that size has the right to move in the way Ben Tamafuna does. Big Ben is a physical freak. Like 150 kegs of a man, and he can shift. And he got another try to his name, and he led that team brilliantly. And yeah, just a wrecking ball of a player. Other positives, Sia Khaleesi, man. Honestly, that guy. He's the biggest name in rugby, isn't he? I mean, he's a fantastic player, but just forget that. He is rugby's one superstar. Above anybody else. And I'm saying that even above Antoine Dupont. What do you think? I think that's a fair statement. I think he's the biggest name in rugby. And What a guy. To the point that if England do play South Africa, and hey, as an Englishman, I hope we go deep enough into the competition that could happen. A little tiny bit of me would be supporting South Africa purely because of Siya Kolisi. I'd be like, oh, well, we lost, but at least Siya gets to play again. Love that guy. The way I was there in Paris for Ireland, South Africa, I was there in Marseille for South Africa v Scotland. The way that guy belts out a national anthem is just makes me smile. I love it. And other positives. God, I'm coming out with all the positives tonight. Officiating with common sense. Thank you, Luke Pearce. Maybe the best performing Englishman at the Rugby World Cup. Him and Wayne Barnes. You know what? I think England have the best referees on the planet. Genuinely, I do. And Luke Pearce was brilliant tonight. There was that one moment where the Tongan scrum half made a tackle. The TMO said, Luke, you need to have a look at this, mate. There's head-on-head contact. And Luke Pearce had a look at it and went, nah, penalty only, let's play on. Just a bit of common sense. And I reckon the vast majority of people that have played rugby were looking at that and going, thank you, Luke. Thank you. You were fearing oh man, not again, not another one. And there we are. Just a common sense, smart move. Again, feel free to tell me if you disagree. And then there was another one with Eben Etzebeth, the guy taking the high catch, landing. Now, didn't you think that incident was very, very reminiscent of Tom Curry in the Argentina game in the opening weekend of the World Cup? Another game I was there for in Marseille. And I remember chatting to loads of, not just England fans, I chatted to South African fans, Scotland fans, Argentinian fans, people from all over that weekend in Marseille, and everyone was saying the same thing. That's never a red card. Come on, that can't be a red card. What can Tom Curry do? And that was a red card. He missed the whole game. On this occasion, and he was suspended for 2 games afterwards, on this occasion, Luke Pearce said, basically, he didn't say these words, but he effectively said, occasionally accidents happen in rugby, and that's okay. I'm not going to give someone a red card for it. So thank you, Luke Pearce. And Eben Etzebeth, believe me, he'll be thanking Luke Pearce for that, because that could have gone very differently. And I'm glad it didn't. That was, from South Africa's point of view, the scoreline looks great. It was a bit scratchy at times, wasn't it? And there was times when it looks like Tonga were going to sort of be reeling South Africa back in, and some of South Africa's scores were feeding off mistakes. But then again, they had the clinical edge to actually punish them and put them away. Kane and Moody's try would be a great example. An attacking move for South Africa that didn't quite go to plan. He reacted first, scored. But that is one of the consequences of having ridiculous wheels in your back line. You have got the ability to just boom, and you're gone. Cobus Reinach's quick tap penalty was another one. That was just quick thinking and very, very quick feet. He's like a little bundle of energy, that guy, isn't he? So that was one of the fears I had coming into that one from a South African perspective is they've made 30 or however many it was, 12 changes to the starting 15. They've made loads of changes. And that means the people that started against Ireland, it's going to be a full 3 weeks before they play again. And the only game they've got in between is Tonga, which the way Tonga have been going might not be as competitive as they want it to be. Actually, Tonga, well, they put in some big old hits for a start. They had a real big physical pack, which South Africa would have loved getting the game time against, because whoever they play in the quarterfinals is going to be a big physical test. No question of that, whether it's New Zealand or France. And I think it's perfect for South Africa. Tonga gave them a great working over. South Africa scored some good tries, did what they needed to do, got the points difference they wanted, got the 5 points in the bag, and got game time in the legs of some people that they really needed to. So, all in all, really good. And they'll be looking at that scoreline and thinking, well, we made loads of changes, and we can improve on a lot of areas. And like I say, Tonga will also be thinking that they gave a decent account of themselves as well. Now, one of the things that I talked about before the game, when the South African team was announced, was which players in the starting 15, excluding Siya Kolisi and Eben Etzebeth, of course, like putting those to one side, they're obviously going to be in the side. But of the people that were changed and came in for the Tonga game, which ones will be wearing that starting jersey in the quarterfinals? Which conversations are there? Which shirts are genuinely up for grabs in selection for a quarterfinal? And in the comments, the stuff that came back, fly half came back all the time. We need to see Handré Pollard, and then the decision is going to be made. If anything, maybe the decision is harder now than it was before the match. Because I reckon before the match, if you were picking a South African 15, you'd probably go, just get Andre Pollard in. But the fact Libok came on and did what he did, and Andre Pollard did very well as well, it's almost made it tougher, which is a great place to be for the coaches. My suspicion is that it will still be Libok to start, maybe Pollard on the bench, but we'll watch that one with interest. In the pack, really the only position that was deemed up for grabs, the pack picks itself, doesn't it? That front five picks itself, and you're not changing the flankers, so it's just number 8. Is Visa the number 8? Maybe. It's an interesting conversation though. Is it going to be Dwayne Vermeulen? That's another one. So we've got 8, we've got 10. And the other one that seemed to come up quite a lot was the winger. Colby automatic selection, but is it going to be Arendse, Moody, Mapimpi, Williams even? Where'd you go? I suspect it will still be those two, won't it? Colby and Arendse, but there's a conversation to be had. Definitely they've got options. I guess some of the main conversations outside of 8 and 10, well, actually, centre's another one. Now, it just blows my mind that South Africa have such good quality in their team that they don't need Andre Esterhuizen. He was great tonight, as he has been when he's been wearing the South African jersey recently. And honestly, I've watched this guy for a few years now in the Premiership. He is just awesome. I love Andre Esterhuizen. And I was trying to think. I reckon every other international team, except for Ireland, and probably France. Yeah. Every other side, except for Ireland and France, would automatically pick Andre Esterhuizen as their inside centre. And yet South Africa may not need him. But quite a lot of people in the comments are wondering whether Damien Dialende could shift out and Andre Esterhuizen at 12. I don't think that's going to happen, but he was good again tonight. What a lovely problem to have. And that was it. I think other than that, the jerseys that are up for the grabs are the ones on the bench. And on that front, I think one person who probably we can rule out now is Jaden Hendricks at scrum half. Thought he looked a little bit rusty. So it'll be Ryan Acker-Williams. Well, he could have both on the bench. Yeah, all in all, I've come away from that feeling just good about the weekend. Started off really badly, like I say. I was in awe of New Zealand's attacking play, but I was just so disappointed with Italy. And I thought that's a bad thing for Italian rugby. It's a bad thing for Northern Hemisphere rugby. It's a terrible thing for the World Cup. It's a really bad look. But I finished thinking, how good were Portugal? Tonga were great. And fair play, the world champion South Africa they've righted the ship after disappointing defeat against Ireland. They're in a good place ahead of the quarterfinals. And like I say, they can just put their feet up. That's going to give us a whole 2 weeks to have a chat about them and the other quarterfinalists and everything else that's going on at the Rugby World Cup. So if you appreciate the videos, and I really hope I will earn your subscription if I haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and you'll be fed all of these videos. And hit like and leave your comments. And I will see you on the next one.